We're going back to the Evercade with today's review of Indie Heroes 2, which as always comes with a nice full color manual. Each game, you are told a little bit about the developer, which I think is a nice touch. Let's go ahead and take Indie Heroes 2. Let's pop it in my Evercade VS and see how the games hold up. Let's go to the games. Indie Heroes 2 is cartridge 28 of the Red Box series. Amazon gives it a release date of January 31st, 2023, where it debuted at the standard $20 price point here in the US. This cartridge contains 12 indie games, although 2 of these titles are actually trilogies containing 3 games, so you could say that it has in total 16 games. Many of these titles were released individually as Games of the Month in 2022 for the Evercade VS before the release of the cartridge itself. I will now present the games based on my personal enjoyment so far, from my least favorite to my most favorite, mostly based on my early impressions. So my opinion on these titles might change as time goes on. Beer Slinger is first. This is an NES style game where you're a bartender who fills drink orders, kind of like the arcade classic Tapper, but much simpler and honestly kind of boring. Yeah Yeah Beebiss 2 is next. The original Yeah Yeah Beebiss was a non-existent game that showed up in some used game ad lists in video game magazines back in the early NES days. Although YouTuber John Rigg's name is attached to the project, it was largely made by other programmers. This NES-style game has you defeating baddies one single screen after another. It looks nice and it has pretty good music, but it just didn't pull me in. The Cowlitz Gamers Adventure Trilogy is the next title. Straight out of Poland comes these 3 NES-style games in one, where you try to progress screens by collecting certain objects through platforming. It's fine, but just not my personal style of gameplay. The Gruniożerca Trilogy is next, another set of 3 NES-style games dedicated to a beloved hamster from the same Polish group. The first game is pretty basic, matching colors to catch colored carrots, but the other 2 titles featuring puzzle elements are much more enjoyable, not too shabby. Eyra the Crow Maiden is a Sega Genesis style platformer from the same studio that gave us Beer Slinger. Here you can send out a crow on a limited basis to attack at greater distances. The controls feel a little bit stiff to me, but it's still an okay platformer. Tapeworm Disco Puzzle is next. From the maker of Flea from the first Indie Heroes collection comes this puzzle-esque game where you send out a worm from a cassette tape to collect all the objects. It's simple, but it's pretty enjoyable and actually somewhat relaxing to play. Gelatinous Humanity Lost is the next game. From the maker of Quest Arrest from the first Indie Heroes collection comes a Game Boy style game where you control a blob trying to find new abilities to unlock a la Metroid. It's pretty solid and it reminds me of Bubble from the Morph Cat Games Collection 1. Lunar Journey is a Game Boy style game that reminds me a lot of early point and click adventure games except without a cursor, and I like it. The next title is Nessy the Robot. From YouTuber Daniel T Gaming comes a surprisingly simple but enjoyable NES-style platformer with several callbacks to other popular retro titles. Reknum Soul's Adventure is the next game. It combines Zelda elements and platforming to make it one of the more enjoyable games in this collection. Next we have Nyx, the Paradox Relic. It's an NES-style game in the Metroid vein. The controls could be a bit tighter, but the journey is an enjoyable one and recommended for fans of Metroid. Anguna, Scourge of the Goblin King is the final and my favorite title of this collection. It's a Zelda type game, and that's one of my favorite types of games to play, and Anguna does a good job scratching that Zelda itch with its NES style gameplay. It's a must play on this cartridge. Family friendly wise, the game received a PEGI rating of 7 for ages 7 and up. So what do I think of Indie Heroes Collection 2 for the Evercade? For what it is, I like it. I like the idea of indie cartridges, especially in cases like this where at the $20 price point you're paying less than $2 per game, and in my case for games I haven't had much exposure to. That being said, these are indie games, most of which may only take you an hour or two to complete and may have some minor issues here and there. And if you played through many of these as part of the Game of the Month back in 2022, you may not find much value in paying for the cart. But overall for me, while it may not be my favorite Evercade cart or give me any deep gameplay experiences, I find it a solid addition to my personal collection. So I'm going to rank Indie Heroes Collection 2. It's going somewhere in the middle of the pack. I do like Data East Collection 1 at the 11th position, but I will put this over Atari Arcade 1 at 12. So out of the 19 cartridges I've now ranked for the Evercade, Indie Heroes 2 is debuting at the 12th position. Indie Heroes 2 offers a solid collection of indie titles. But that's just what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Also, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on the Twitter, join the Discord, support the show at patreon.com/NoSwordGamer, and click the bell so you don't miss any future videos. Thank you for giving me a little part of your day, and look forward to see you next time on the next episode of the No Swear Gamer. Take care, everybody.